My name is Sheree, and I was at Maryhurst in the 1980s. When I arrived, I was a very broken girl. I was angry at the world for the life I had been dealt. My parents divorced when I was around 5 years old. My mother remarried when I was 8 years old. Shortly after, my maternal grandmother who lived with us and helped raise me passed away. My mom never knew, but her husband, my stepfather, sexually abused me. And when I was 11 years old, my mother died of a brain aneurysm. I endured years of sexual abuse at the hands of my stepfather, and many times I wasn't sure that I wanted to continue living. Being at Maryhurst was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Of course, as a teenager, I didn't recognize it. Because of the abuse I suffered, I thought all relationships with men were supposed to be sexual until I met Mr. K at Maryhurst. I like to think of him as a gentle giant. He was well over 6 feet tall with huge muscles, but he had the kindest spirit. When I tried to dress inappropriately, he'd send me back to my room. I couldn't come out until I had changed. When I spoke demeaning things about myself or others, he insisted that I not speak until I could do so in a positive and respectful manner. I quickly learned that sexual misconduct was not going to work with him. He taught me about boundaries and respecting others' personal space. I was full of rage and constantly acting out. I gave up on myself so many times, but staff didn't. They redirected me, encouraged me, and loved me. Those are important things to a teenage girl that felt like she had been abandoned by everyone that loved her. I'm here today because of Maryhurst.
Hello, my name is Pat. I came to Maryhurst in the 1960s. I want to share a timeline of my life and the feelings I carried with me during those times. 1947, born into an alcoholic, dysfunctional, chaotic family. Confusion. 1960, running, afraid, alone, lost. 1963, Dolores Delahanty, juvenile court system, still afraid, despair. 1964, Maryhurst, Mother Fidelis, faith. Mother Rose, hope. Mother Immaculate Heart, love. Still afraid, but not running, accepted. 1966, high school graduate, marriage, children, fulfillment. 1976, college graduate, nursing degree, emergency nurse, manager, success. 1995, Journey of Hope Alumni Award, second nursing degree, proud. 2013, retirement, which led to reflection. 2018, today I am who I am because Maryhurst took on the challenge of me. I tell you with confidence, I would not have survived without them. I am a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, sister, friend, a survivor, a living example of the miracles produced by Maryhurst. And always the words of Maryhurst echo in my mind. Do not be afraid. You are not alone, and you don't have to run anymore.
My name is Crystal, and I was in Maryhurst in the 1990s. You know, it comes up in conversation from time to time when I'm talking with coworkers and friends about growing up in a girls' home in Louisville. And the reaction that they have is always the same. They say, I can't believe you turned out the way you did. And I always have to agree with them because I know the person that they know now, the me that they see and know now, is not who I was when I got to Maryhurst. And the person I am now is only because of that life-changing miracle that happened to me on Dorsey Lane. When I arrived at Maryhurst, I was nearly 15 years old and just absolutely broken. I had been a victim of abuse from a very young age, and I turned into a runaway. I bounced around in the foster care systems. I was depressed and so angry and just full of self-hatred and self-loathing for things that I couldn't even control. I would think about what tomorrow was going to be like, and most of the time, I didn't even want to wake up and find out. But as soon as I got to Maryhurst, I really flourished in that program. I found comfort immediately in the structure and the routine and the rules and just knowing where I was going to sleep at night, knowing that there was a group of staff members to watch over me while I slept. And the school at Maryhurst was my salvation. I had fallen so far behind in school, and these amazing teachers invested so much time and love in making sure that I got caught up, and they got me so excited about learning. And they showed me that I was actually kind of smart. I didn't know that. And, you know, generous benefactors like yourselves donated money to Maryhurst so that I could attend Presentation Academy for my senior year of high school. You all did that for me. And I also got to live in a Maryhurst foster home that senior year of high school. And these amazing foster parents taught me how to make a budget and balance a checkbook, get a job, always show up to that job. These people were amazing. They got me filling out college applications and excited about my future. I was finally excited about what my tomorrow was going to be like. I could never thank them enough for what they did for me. And from there, I went on to college, and I earned a bachelor's degree, and I started a career in human resources. So when I think about my life now, my amazing life, I have my husband of 14 years. We have 3 amazing children. We live in our own home that we own. And I'm an HR manager for Caterpillar. It's crazy. I still have a hard time believing it, but it's my life now. And, you know, I will never forget that 15-year-old girl, though, and I don't want to. I'll never forget her, but I know standing here today is truly for the grace of God and what Maryhurst did. They changed my life and made my tomorrow.
Hi, my name is Madison, but I like to go by Maddy. I was at Maryhurst from 2014 to 2015 and then 2016 to 2017. When I arrived at Maryhurst, I had already had so many underlying issues from sexual abuse to family issues and depression. I knew, just like every other place, they weren't going to be able to help me, and I was happily proved wrong. Before Maryhurst, I had been in 10+ hospitals and residentials, each one of them making me feel like I was just another case. No one wanted to know me for who I am, but for what was in my file. From battling self-harm and depression and suicidal thoughts and actions, I wanted to give up, and then I went to Maryhurst. And I didn't change overnight, trust me. It took many long months and constant support for me to finally realize what I had going for me. At Maryhurst, I had many influential relationships and supports, and each one plays a huge part in who I am today. But I have to say, my therapist, Miss Alexis, was a huge factor in my treatment and my strive to be something great. I've never had luck with therapy because of my past trust issues, but I felt safe with her, which made me want to open up and tell her everything, because I knew she cared about me, not only in therapy walls, but outside as well. I knew with her as my therapist, giving up was not an option, and becoming something was. The only option I had was by getting all of my credits over a summer and graduating last August to go into independent living and recommitting and starting college in August for social work, so I can give back what was given to me. They say it takes a village, and that village is what pushed me through to be here today. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emily. I came to Maryhurst in 1988. I did not grow up in poverty. I did not grow up with parents addicted to drugs or alcohol. I did, however, grow up in a middle-class family rampant with domestic abuse. My father was full of rage and could become violent in an instant. My mother, brothers, and I were all victims of his abuse. When I was 5 years old, I was diagnosed with cancer. I remember being terrified. I could sense the emotions of my parents and family, all of whom feared I would die. My tumor was successfully removed, and I have since been cancer-free. When I was 8 years old, my mother attempted suicide on Valentine's Day, and I found her on our basement floor unresponsive. Once again, I was terrified, this time that my mother was dead. She was taken to the hospital where her stomach was pumped, she recovered, and was sent to Our Lady of Peace. Like most things in our family, it was swept under the rug and not talked about. That's when my parents divorced. All of this trauma felt so heavy for me. As you can imagine, I was a sad and depressed kid. I thought I must be unlovable. I desperately wanted the love and affection of my mother, and she was too broken. Thus began my journey into substance abuse. Fast forward, and after many years of using, rehab, group homes, and detention, I ended up at Maryhurst when I was 15. I wish I could say a miracle took place at that time, but it didn't. I wasn't entirely ready to make the needed changes that would have spared many more years of pain. I wasn't ready to give up what I believed was my solution, alcohol. And I ended up in prison at 19. It wasn't until I truly conceded to my innermost self that I was an alcoholic that my life began to change. What I can say stuck with me from Maryhurst was the sincere reaching out of staff that took a genuine interest in me. One of them, Stephen Farr, is here today. In July 2003, 15 years after my first introduction to Maryhurst, Stephen hired me as a youth counselor. I know that if Stephen and Maryhurst hadn't opened this door, I wouldn't be here today. Working with the girls at Maryhurst was a dream, and then it became my passion. As a result of that door being opened, I applied for and received full restoration of my rights and felony expungement. I also went on to complete my education and became a licensed clinical social worker, where I now operate a community mental health center and have a private practice. Because of the hope that was instilled in me by Maryhurst, I was able to mend the relationships with my family. I was able to forgive and eulogize my father, show up and be a loving big sister to my brothers, be an awesome aunt to my nephews and niece. And most especially, I was able to show my mother how to accept my love and in turn receive that love from her. In September, my mom and I are taking a spiritual journey together as we walk the Camino de Santiago from France to Spain. As long as there is hope, there is always room for a journey. My heart is full and my gratitude immense. I stand before you, a journey of hope.